We had what every old neighborhood had, a haunted house. In our area, it was a three-story 1930s home in need of a paint job bad. The story was the ancient German lady, Mrs. Schmidt, who lived there by herself, was a witch, and her home was haunted by demons. At the time, we had laughed at such a notion. I would call myself Wayne, and at 22, I still lived with my mom. And since I didn't fancy having a job yet, not having money to buy beer or gas was a pain. So, with two of my friends, David and Josh, a stupid plan was hatched. Rob Mrs. Schmidt's house. It was a huge place, had to be some items of value inside. As we didn't want to involve her, rob it while empty would be ideal. The opportunity came a couple weeks later when she left with a small suitcase in hand. After a little snooping, news was she was visiting family for a few days. The 5-foot chain link fence surrounding the house had to be climbed, but at least the bushes growing against them would give us cover once inside the yard. Tripping over each other in the dark while checking every window, none were found to be unlocked. One was picked from the first floor, and using a hammer Josh had brought, David broke one of the panes and unlocked it. Managing to get it open, he was about to enter when the window slammed down hard on his fingers. He muffled his cries of pain and nursed his busted fingers, leaving Josh to open it. Making sure it was secure, each of us crawled into the house. After filling our bags with stuff that caught our eyes, we climbed the stairs to the second floor. Shining light down the long hallway, a door was at the end. David insisted we go check it out first, so we followed him. It was fitted with a combination lock firmly secured. David wanted in there bad. He was betting she put all the expensive stuff in the room. I told him I've seen the scary movies. Always a bad move to unlock a padlocked room. But David's greed was more powerful, and he slammed his shoulder against the door with all his weight behind him. All he got for his trouble was a sore shoulder. He had the hammer and beat the lock until it broke. Opening the door with held breaths of anticipation, we step inside. Nothing. It was completely empty except for this 3-foot tall cross on the opposite wall facing the door, flanked by two long narrow windows. Josh and I checked out the cross, and to our surprise, it was stuck so hard it would not budge. It was gold looking with a smooth metal fill and small symbols carved all over it. Turning around, we see on the back of the door, which was partially closed, a drawing that took up this whole center. It looked to be done in black crayon of a circle. It was swirls upon swirls of black to where it was almost solid. A black hole. Laughing, I joked, "Where's the hidden camera? Because this has to be something from one of those reality paranormal shows, right?" David, on the other hand, was angry to find the room empty. Profanity came pouring out of his mouth. Pounding the lock had made his fingers throb and bleed slightly. He held on to the door's edge, transferring his blood onto it as he told us to get out. There were other rooms to explore. Josh said maybe the cross was made of real gold, and we examined it more closely. Hearing the door slam, we quickly turned back around to find David was not in the room with us anymore. Josh tried to open the door, but it was locked. We yelled at David to let us out. Sounding far away, we hear him screaming, "They've got me! They've got me!" That freaked us. There were people in the house besides us. In our panic not to get busted, we go for the windows. They too would not open. Even tried breaking the glass, but it refused to shatter. We were trapped in the room. Josh went to pound on the door, and instead of impacting wood, his fist went through the black hole into open air. He would have fallen in if I had not grabbed him by the back of his shirt, stopping the momentum forward. Stunned, we stumbled back against the wall. My brain was not able to process what we had just witnessed, because you see, it wasn't reality. It couldn't be real. Staring hard at the black hole, I could actually see the black swirls moving, appearing as a slow whirlpool. I know Josh saw it too because that's when he lost it and started screaming in pure panic, repeating over and over that it was some kind of portal to hell. The realization that David probably fell in and his cries for help were coming from inside the hole caused me to just about to lose it, and I yelled at him to shut up so I could think. Josh went to pounding on the walls and I went to work on the windows, trying to get someone's attention, but being a cold night and the end of a cul-de-sac, no one was about. The door flings open, and there stands the homeowner, Mrs. Schmidt, and she looks pissed. I am not ashamed to say we fled out of that room so fast and cowered behind her. She faced the room, holding a cross and a flashlight with a lighthouse beam effect in front of her, said a few words in an unknown language, and just like that, the door slammed shut by itself. I literally sighed in relief. Mrs. Schmidt may have been no more than 4'5", but she towered over me like a giant, ordering us to leave. With my voice squeaking, I asked about David. Know what she says? The shadows have him now and will never let him go. Your friend is gone forever. After what we just saw, I knew her words rang true, but the part of me that was feeling survivor's guilt told her we just couldn't leave him behind, and she asked if I wanted to go back in. I threatened to call the police. She stared at me with those scary, glowing gray eyes of hers and asked with too sweet of a voice, Do you really think they would believe your story and then confess to breaking in and robbing my house? We left her house defeated. She was right. No one would believe us, and we would be in jail if we told. Since David lived alone and was estranged from his family, no one knew he was missing. Being kind of an asshole, he didn't have a lot of friends either, at least no one that cared enough to come looking for him. Josh and I keep our mouths shut. We walk by the house every now and then and have seen David twice at the window of that room, staring out, his expression blank, his eyes never see us. Maybe it's just my imagination. Bill, Michael, and Clifford pulled into the Cascade Mountain Visitor parking lot. It was their senior year in high school, and being such a warm spring day, decided to play hooky and go hiking. After registering in with the ranger and putting a parking permit in the windshield of Bill's car, they grabbed their packs for the 10-mile hike. About 4 miles in, a rest was taken, so Clifford could answer the call of nature, and he marched into the bush. Bill and Michael took off their packs and sat there talking about college for several minutes before noticing Clifford had not yet returned. Bill cupped his hands around his mouth, shouting while laughing, Hey, Clifford, nature not cooperating? Standing still, they waited for his reply, but it did not come. Getting a tad concerned because there are mountain lions and bears around, Bill and Michael both called out to him, but he still did not answer back. They went into search party mode by fanning out. Michael found Clifford just a short distance away. His gaze was fixed on something in the woods. Peering into the trees, Michael could see nothing and asked, Bro, what's up? Didn't you hear us calling? Clifford started rocking slightly back and forth, his eyes half closed, and said softly, Do you hear it? Bill trotted over just in time to catch the question and inquired, Hear what? The humming, Clifford answered. Bill and Michael exchanged what the hell looks. Clifford kept slightly rocking back and forth. His face had this insanely happy expression and a weird faraway look in his eyes. He giggled like a little kid, saying, She is singing to me. Michael ran hands through his hair, an unconscious gesture showing his impatience as he scolded Clifford. What? Are you high? It's not funny, so knock it off. Bill had to agree. Michael's right. We don't have time to waste if we want to make it back before we are missed. He tried to pull Clifford back by grabbing his shoulder, but Clifford shook it off, insisting, Can't you hear her? Michael was getting tired of Clifford's game and was about to state it when Bill held up his hand in a universal sign for silence. Keeping their mouths shut, they opened their ears. It was a dead silence. No birds, not even bugs, which was a little strange, but no big wow. Clifford giggled again, wigging Bill out with his joker smile. Grabbing Bill by the arm, Michael pulled him back a few feet for a private conversation and said in a low voice, "I may not be a doctor, but I am no idiot. Clifford's not acting normal. If I didn't know him better, I swear he's under influence of some kind of drug. We should turn back." Worry too, Bill agreed. "Okay, let's get out of here." Setting his sights on Clifford, who was still rocking back and forth to some tune in his head, he was just in time to see his body kind of twist like Play-Doh before being sucked in like a straw into thin air. It happened so fast Bill couldn't breathe. He could feel his body going numb in shock as he stared dumbfounded at where Clifford had been standing. Michael circled around like a periscope, asking, "Where did he go?" His back had been turned on Clifford at the time and missed seeing him sucked into nothing. Bill couldn't explain what he saw, only managing to blurt out, "He was standing right over there a moment ago." Walking over to check the spot, Michael called Bill over, saying, "Will you take a look at this?" and lifted Clifford's pants from the ground. The bucket was still hooked and the button fastened. He joked to lighten up the tension that had suddenly enveloped him. What did he do? Go Star Trek on us and beam out of half his clothes? He tossed in a bill before leaning down to pick up another item. "It's Clifford's shoe." Mumbling under his breath, "This is getting weird," he inspected it. The laces were tied, which was even weirder because Michael knew Clifford had to untie them just to get his shoe off. All of a sudden, Michael screamed, throwing the shoe down. His face had suddenly gone pale. Startled by the scream of terror, Bill rushed out. What is it?" With wide eyes, Michael muttered, pointing down, "Clifford's shoe." Bill picked up the shoe and from inside dropped out something that landed on the ground. Michael screamed again, causing Bill to snap. "Will you stop that?" He squatted down to get a better look and about jumped 10 feet in the air. It looked like the front part of a foot, with the big toe still attached. Judging by the rough edges, it had been ripped off from the rest of the foot rather than cut. He expected there to be more blood. Cringing, he dropped the shoe along with the pants. This overwhelming sense of fear washed over him like a tidal wave. It was then he decided it was time to go and get help. Bill started pulling Michael back toward the trail, and in a tone that left no room for argument, he said, "We are leaving." Michael hated leaving Clifford behind, but had to admit he wanted to get out of here too. He was really spooked. He asked nervously, "Do you think Clifford will be okay?" Bill picked up his backpack from where he had dropped it before replying, "It's getting late. At the ranger station, we can get a rescue team to find him." Bill felt that overwhelming fear kick in again and screamed at Michael to run. Michael didn't have to be told twice and was on Bill's heels. They went running full force down the trail, leaving their packs behind. After about an hour of hard running, Michael stumbled and Bill heard him crying out for help. He found Michael and they sat down beside a big rock, catching their breath. Bill watched the woods behind them with eyes wide open, asking, "Did you see anything?" Michael winced in pain as he rubbed his twisted ankle. Using part of his shirt, he wrapped it around his foot and ankle. Hissing through clenched teeth, he demanded, "See what? What are we running from?" Bill couldn't squelch the feeling of danger. It was so strong inside him. Sighing heavily, he said, "I don't know. All I know is we have to get out of here." After a few minutes, they started running down the trail again. Michael slowed their progress with his ankle. He was not able to run as fast and stumbled quite a bit. It was going to be after dark before they got back to the station, but Bill was not leaving him behind. Bill could feel stings from the whelps on his face caused by tree branches he had run blindly through when he ran off the trail a moment ago. "Michael," he called, "you still with me?" His heart skipped several beats when he received a no answer. Slowing to a stop, he called Michael's name again. Listening to the dead silence, he finally heard him respond faintly, "I can hear her." Bill backtracked the trail a bit to find Michael staring into the dark forest. Damn it, why wasn't Michael running? He took a couple reluctant steps closer to him. Whispering loudly, he begged, "Please, Michael, we can't stay here." Michael turned his head sideways to look at Bill, hushing him. "Shh, she's singing to me." He had the same Joker smile, the same weird faraway eyes as Clifford. Bill's voice croaked out dryly, "Who is?" Glancing around real quick to make sure it was clear, Bill said, "Time to leave." But Michael was gone. No way he walked away without making any noise. He knew deep down inside that Michael had been sucked into thin air just like Clifford. With his terror needle pinned to the red zone, Bill ran with everything he had. It was already night by the time he reached the parking lot. His foot hitting asphalt was such a relief, he almost peed in his pants. In the middle sat the ranger station, and the lights were on. As a wisp of a humming was heard in the air, he cried hysterically, half dragging his exhausted body towards the station. Almost to the door, he stretched his hand to reach for it. Only a few more feet to safety. Early the next morning, a ranger found a pair of hiking shoes near the doorstep. Looking around to make sure no one saw him, he picked them up. Shaking slightly as he pulled out his cell, he made a call before going inside and dropping his shoes in a lockbox filled with other mismatched shoes. The lid was marked with the words, "Project Slipworld, Classified Material." Later that afternoon, he received a call from a concerned girlfriend looking for her missing boyfriend, Bill Tate, and his friends. He reported there was no vehicle matching the description or license plate number she supplied as he crumbled a parking permit into a ball and watched the unmarked tow truck pull Bill's car away. The secret had to be kept.